cellular health. We're cellular organisms, right? Nobody can argue or dispute that. So if our cellular organism is not functioning optimally, if it's not optimally nourished, how can we think just by playing with the macronutrient percentage will somehow surpass that necessity and make us into what we need to be? Now, can you get lean and can you hold muscle? Absolutely. Can you get down to a certain weight class? Absolutely. Are you healthy? No. Are you optimized? No. Are you performing to the best of your ability at that with that style? Absolutely not.
Welcome to Barbell Shrugged. I'm Mike Dolce here with Doug Larson and AJ Roberts. I don't know why I got some weird pauses in me today.
You sure do.
We're going to roll with it.
Not used to announcing AJ.
So what?
So you're not used to announcing AJ on Barbell Shrugged. He's our special guest.
Guest co-host. Yeah, we're in Vegas. And I don't know. We've had AJ on a few times. AJ used to be the host of Barbell Business. So he's here helping out. Throwing down with us this week. So
yeah,
excited.
Good to have you.
Yeah. Today we're interviewing Mike Dolce, and we're here at Dolce Fitness, and you're the founder of this whole thing. Yeah. You've coached you have a book. You've coached a lot of UFC fighters and just athletes in general on nutrition, and I think you're pretty famous for that. But can you list off some of the athletes you've worked with?
Yeah. So we've been doing this. Working with mixed martial arts athletes known as UFC athletes, UFC Bellator top promotions. But we've been doing this since before mixed martial arts even existed, when it was no holds barred. So before the unified rules came in to see what you see now, when it was still banned in pay-per-view, we were working with these athletes quietly for no money. Like, who wants to work with these, sweaty, dirty, ringworm, bloody guys with no cash who are doing this really terrible, horrible, difficult sport? And we jumped all in back then.
Doesn't make any sense.
It makes those stupid. It's insane. It's stupid. I'm going to, cut 20, 30 pounds. I'm going to go fight that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt who just killed the last guy for no money, in a jungle somewhere. Like, fuck yeah, let's sign up and do it. And might get kicked in the head in the process.
I can see the attraction.
But we've worked with, to your question, some of the best athletes on the planet, from Ronda Rousey and Thiago Alves, Vitor Belfort, Quentin Rampage Jackson, Carlos Condit, Ed Herman on the Ultimate Fighter 3 finale. Some people don't even know Ed was on the finale. I was there, cornering Ed. Chris Lieben from back in those days. I was the head strength coach at Team Quest North. That was when Randy Couture, Dan Henderson, Evan Tanner, Matt Lindland were dominating the world, and they brought me in. Doug, you know me from those days.
Yeah, that's actually how we met. You were the strength coach when I started doing MMA back in 2006 at Team Quest.
Team Quest. So in 2006, I already had the credentials in the industry to get a job at probably the number one team in the world, arguably next to Miletich. Pat Miletich Fighting Systems. Most people, most MMA fans don't even know who that is. They were one of the most dominant teams on the planet. Jens Pulver, Matt Hughes, Tim Sylvia all had world titles, and a ton of other beasts that came out of there. So I was kind of operating up in that range back then. So that's a decade plus at the elite level of mixed martial arts, which is a weight class oriented sport. But then I had a background of competing as a powerlifter, super heavyweight powerlifter. Stupid. Talk about MMA, right? Stupid. I'm going to weigh 280 at 5'10". Like, that's a great idea,
Perfect for powerlifting. You probably should have been 308. Just going to throw it out.
Oh, God. Couldn't take it. But also I wrestled. I was a decent level wrestler, amateur wrestler in high school and, at that level, the state level. So I had since I was 12, 13, cutting weight, learning about cutting weight, and then working in it for the last 20 years, pretty hardcore.
Yeah, cutting weight's an interesting thing. Most people don't do it well at all. Like, even people who've been fighting and wrestling for a long time. So the cutting weight part is, I guess, easier. People understand that much better than the putting it back on. Yeah.
So the cutting weight hasn't evolved. You can all picture someone cutting weight, right? We all know that one guy with the dark circles and probably the hoodie on and the plastic suit, maybe spitting at a cup. And like jumping rope and just killing himself on drinking distilled water and like protein powder or something. Just destroying his body. And our approach is we take a longevity-based approach to weight management. We're not trying to cut weight. We're trying to manage our weight to a level that we can compete optimally. Because what's the point of training your whole life for an event? Because when you're at the professional, the Olympic level, it literally is your whole life culminates on one individual day, one competition day. So if you're not optimizing performance through nutrition and the weight management process, rehydration process is also a part of that, what's the fucking point?
Yeah.
I'm allowed to curse?
Oh, yeah.
Say whatever you want.
Okay. So good. So what's the fucking point? Really, what's the point of all this fucking hard work? And then you're going to put plastic suits on and stop eating and drinking for a week before you fight the fucking Russian national champion.
Right.
What world does this make sense? And the athletes still don't get it. Most of them, unfortunately, they don't get it. So that's why I think we've been so busy for the last 20 or so years, 10, 20 years at that level. But there's such a small fraction of the population that we can work with. And most don't take advantage or even pursue other methods.
And you said about rehydration. I think that's what most people don't understand too. With the recent changes in terms of your ability to rehydrate, there is ways to cut a lot of weight safely. But when they start removing the safe ways, people go to the extremes. And like you said, when you're going into one of the biggest fights in your life, the last thing you want to do is not know how you're going to feel that day. You may come back, you may feel great, but you may have the opposite based on not being able to, and how much water have you sucked out of the body? Where have you sucked it out of the body? How does it affect the mind? How does it affect the cells? Like all of that stuff. There's such an unknown, and I think that's especially now it becomes a bigger thing. So the long-term approach, you've been doing it, like you said, for forever, but especially with the way the sport's changing and the things they're bringing in now more than ever, you keep cutting 35, 40 pounds. Is it possible yet? Is it smart right now? Absolutely not. If you can't IV bag up straight away and start to put that back into the body, you've got no chance of being peak performance the next day. And that's a big risk. And with the money that they're fighting for and stuff like that, it doesn't make sense. And, outside of that, people, in colleges and stuff like that, they see this and they don't know what used to go on to get people rehydrated. They're trying to mimic this, and we just set the whole system up for these unhealthy behaviors that eventually cause massive risk to injury and stuff. And I think that's something that sounds like you guys have been aware of since the beginning and really focused on, okay, how do we make someone optimal versus just coming in at a class that they may win because they're bigger on the day of the fight.
Yeah. We try and mediate the downside to what's an already unhealthy process. Cutting weight and then competing, especially competing in combat sports, it's not ideal. It's not the healthiest way to go about living your life. So we try and get in there and find the healthiest possible way to do that successfully. Assist the athlete in achieving their goals while not taking unnecessary risks, hopefully helping them develop lifestyle habits that they can continue on during the training camp, but after the camp and long into the future, we establish these basic principles, nutrition principles, lifestyle principles. So then it's not cutting weight anymore, and we say the weight cut starts 52 weeks before competition. If you're living that lifestyle, especially at the professional level, any human should, but at the professional level, the Olympic level, you're never not an athlete. You're never not a professional athlete. So there's no Sunday fun days and cheat days, and that's a whole other cultural concept. That's wrong for those athletes that have that one day of ultimate competition. So they should be living that lifestyle or a lifestyle congruent to that goal. Because if it's either that goal completely or if it's not that goal at all. It's that goal plus Y, plus variable. We don't know what the variable is, and we try and eliminate that as much as possible.
So for athletes that aren't cutting weight and they're not in a weight class sport, like you were saying that you've worked with Lindsay Valenzuela as an example, like she's not in a weight class sport, she's a CrossFitter, and so it doesn't really matter what she weighs necessarily. She doesn't have to weigh in, so to speak.
Contraire.
Yeah, I mean, it does matter, but she doesn't have a weigh in. It matters, but it does matter. So like with someone like her, like would a cheat day be more acceptable? Is that more of something that is okay in your mind, or how do you feel about it for someone that doesn't have a weigh in?
Now, are you allowed to cheat on your wife?
I mean, I don't tell her, but sometimes.
Okay.
No, of course not.
Of course not. Of course not. And that's typically my first response is, well, can you cheat on your wife? Can you cheat on your spouse? Can you cheat on your buddy? In playing poker if you're not married, whatever. Well, no, of course not. So why would we cheat on our health and cheat on our fitness? Now, we have what we call earned meals. So we put a positive connotation on some sort of reward for specified work. Not, well, it's Sunday, fun day, cheat day, fire the barbecue up, pizza, fucking beers. Because it's Sunday, and I work so hard during the week. And I see 2,000 people a year. They come through our office for dietary advice and consultations and meal plans, all that shit. Now, you can imagine how many times I've heard these stories, these reasons why people don't do what they should be doing. They're selling themselves fucking wolf tickets, and I'm not buying, and I'm going to tell them flat out that's fucking bullshit. You know, you're full of shit. You don't work that hard. You don't eat that well. You don't deserve a full fucking day as a cheat day. Are you crazy? Like, no, not at all. You're here because you're not in the shape that you want to be, but you're telling me because your mom's making fucking her famous green chili recipe that you're going to drink some cerveza. You know what I mean? It sounds awesome on a sunny day.
Sure.
But listen, motherfucker, you walked in here with goals, so it is or it isn't. You know, so we draw a pretty hard line. Now, if we want to say 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, my mom's doing this thing on that day, and I want to fucking chow down with no regrets. Awesome. Well, let's build the plan. Let's have some goals and criteria that we can achieve on the way to that. And then when we do that, we try and minimize the downside. Maybe we get a really hard workout in right beforehand. You know, maybe we've already eaten optimally throughout the day, so when we do go, we're not eating double and triple portions. We're getting a taste and feeling completely satisfied. So we start to develop those type of lifestyle choices or lifestyle protocols to help kind of fill that in. So no, we don't cheat, and it's earned. And we say, if you're doing it every week, you're setting yourself back. In our opinion, at least 3 days. So you cheat on Sunday, you have all Monday, all Tuesday, all Wednesday to clean that shit out of your body. Then maybe you have Thursday and Friday of actually making some progress. And then Saturday, Sunday, you fuck it up again. Look around the gym.
They've been cheating for fucking 25, 30 years.
And that's what it is, you know? So you're just kind of circling the bowl, as I say, and I try and use kind of harsh visual terms. But that's what it is. So you either step it up or you don't. You know, did you earn it? And people are like, oh, well, I mean, how do I know? Like, you fucking know. You know, you don't Google it. You fucking know if you're full of shit or not. And most people are full of shit.
Yeah, one of the things I found is when I was younger and didn't know as much, my cheat meals were all out.
Yeah.
Like, I would just go fucking nuts.
Yep.
And then I was like proud of it. And then as I've gotten older, the things that I don't even like those foods anymore.
They're not even foods, I bet.
It's like, why was I doing that? And a cheat meal now, I mean, I don't classify as cheat meal, but if I'm eating something that's off of like the perfect diet or whatever, you know, it's like someone asked me that day, it's like, what do you do for like a, you know, if you're going off the rails? I'm like, oh, maybe some yogurt and some granola. And they're like, that's what I do for a healthy meal. I'm like, that's about it. Maybe I eat pizza once a month. I don't know.
But people forget too with food. They think cheat and it's a reward and it's based on a emotional connection with whatever they view as cheat, and they don't. And it's lack of knowledge. They don't understand what that does. You said, you know, it takes 3 days to clear out. They don't understand that their body is now inflamed. Their stomach is upset. You know, there's so many negatives to it. I think and that's the hardest thing. Most people don't really know what's going on the inside. So it tastes good, but the emotional response too of, oh, this is good, and then immediately following that, like, I shouldn't have eaten this. Like, even though they think it's a reward or they're cheating and they're like, it's okay because of my diet.
Same thing happens if you sleep with somebody you weren't supposed to. Yeah. Like right afterwards, you're like, oh shit.
The guilt, the shame.
Get me out of here.
So that plays into all of that. So it goes so deep, and it's one of those things that you know, having been a guy that just ate, you know, eat it, see it, died, and walk around 320, and it was okay to do everything, and then you change that. You know, I'm not perfect by any means, but you start to really dig into your relationship with food and what it means and why do you do what you do, and it's like, you know, at the end of the day, it's like, well, why would I even put this in my body? Like, why would it, what purpose does this serve? And, you know, oh, it makes me feel good for a split second, and then it makes me feel like shit for the next 24, 48 hours. Like, no, you don't do that with other things, you know. So it's an interesting relationship you have to face, and I think that the majority of the population, and you obviously work with thousands of people, but their relationship with food is just there's really not a relationship. It's just something they put in their mouth, and they have no understanding of what it's really doing. It's probably the big reason about obesity is the big issue. It's just people have no clue what the fuck they should do, and we got into that last night a little bit, so I'm sure we'll get deeper.
I think a couple points is that I believe most people know what they should do by knowing intuitively what they shouldn't. Just stop doing what you fucking know you should not be doing. Stop eating the chips. Stop eating the cake at 10 o'clock at night. Stop eating the extra portions of lasagna or whatever it might be. The donut tray comes around at work, and we all know the lady that I'm just having a little bit and cuts a quarter off, but you see her at the fucking tray 4 times. You know what I mean? And this shit happens. This is the human condition.
Well, it's when I've coached people through nutrition, I ask them to keep a diet log, and then they don't even have to turn it in. They just go, oh fuck, I didn't realize I was eating a Snickers every day at 3.
Yeah.
I'm like, how did you not realize that? But people are on automatic pilot, right? It's just kind of like doing the thing, and then that journal raises that awareness.
Yeah, and they're forced to accept the reality and not sell the wolf ticket, essentially.
Yeah.
And we ask people to be mindful. Be mindful at first of what you eat. And then how does it taste, and how do you feel 15 minutes later, 45 minutes later? Like, what's your mood? What's your energy like? Let's start being aware. Even healthy, quote, healthy foods. Mm-hmm. If you're mindful of the healthier foods, maybe you realize, well, that doesn't really go well with me. I'm not a coconut oil guy. It sits in my stomach and just feels a little off. I am, actually. But, that being the point. So we're just a little more mindful. And what we want to do is help people to become their own coaches. You know what not to do, so stop doing that. And then we run through our Dolce diet principles, which is we eat real food. Principle number 1, if you only do that, you're 80% of the way there. I don't care about fucking counting calories and macros and intermittent fasting and meal timing and all that shit. If you're only eating real food, you're 80% of the way there, and you look better than 2/3 of the population, 80% of the population. No problem.
Definitely.
Right?
Yeah.
Number 2 is we eat every 2 to 4 hours based upon activity, recovering or pre-fueling for what comes next in these short little bouts, these short little bursts. Number 3 is we eat till satisfied, not until full. So then we're more mindful of the food that we're consuming. We're either recovering again from what we just did. We're fueling for what we're about to do over that next 2 to 4 hour expenditure of energy. And then the last one is just fucking keep doing that. Now, if you really break it down, we don't get deep into the macros right out of the gate, because if you're not doing that, you shouldn't be counting macros anyway. Makes no fucking sense. You're not healthy. Your body's not optimized. You're nutrient deficient, no doubt, completely at a micro level, completely micronutrient deficient. So if you're not fulfilling your body with those earth-grown nutrients with regularity based upon activity, not overwhelming your digestive system so we're getting full and complete absorption, maximum micronutrient intake at lower total caloric load, bless you.
Thank you.
That's what we're trying to do to get to that 80%. Once we get to there, then we can start playing with all the other fun little tweaks to, get to single-digit body fat or do, whatever performance goals we might have.
Yeah, why do you think people want to focus on the tweaks first, or, they want to get into ketosis before they've managed getting all their micronutrients and stuff like that?
Because they see that fucking asshole on Instagram who's on Winstrol and fucking Clen and growth and thyroid med, who's shredded with a fucking sack of Oreo cookie melted ice cream and fucking macros, baby. Because they see that fucking dickhead with a couple million followers. And there's 50
and I know
of these
this
dickheads.
for a fact.
Right?
we struck a nerve.
Yeah, but Jesus fucking Christ. Just put your fucking pharmaceuticals on there, and then I'm eating Oreos, and I'll respect you at least. But don't prey on the fucking unassuming population who doesn't know any better. So when we're saying, no, drink more water, eat spinach, eat wild caught, eat clean foods, make homemade foods, they're like, shut the fuck up, idiot. I'm eating Pop-Tarts because Johnny fucking Juice, it works for him.
I mean, that's how the whole, if it fits your macros started like that. And it's crazy because, you see all these guys eating donuts going into shows. And I know for a fact, because my wife was working with a competitor who, she was a drug-free competitor. So it meant she had to do a lot. She had to eat super fucking clean, work out super hard, do lots of cardio, real fucking work. And she started dating an IFBB pro, and she's like, I don't understand. He's eating cheesecake the week of the show. Yeah. And I'm like, you don't understand. He's popping fucking pills that literally mean he can eat whatever he wants. He eats that, and then he takes extra Clen at night, extra T3. And she's like, what the fuck? And then she's like, well, I want to do that. And it's we're not we can't work with you. You don't want to do that.
Yeah.
She did one show 12 weeks after she left us, and she looked okay. And then she's never competed again. It's been years. But it was this conception that she can eat whatever she wants. As soon as she got on that train, she's never been able to get in shape again. And it's not just her. I'm just using this as an example. But this is what happens. They go, oh, I can just take the drugs. And it's like, no, it's still hard work. But on top of that, they think they can eat whatever they want, and they don't understand that it doesn't have any benefit to them. Sure, you can eat what you want, but it becomes an addiction. When hey, I can fucking pop a donut or 3 or 4 or a dozen, and then I'll just take, I'll just up my Clen for the day. it becomes an addiction, and that is not a healthy habit. And you can't do that forever. Your hormones crash, and then you're fucked, you know. And then now you're just uphill battle. Doesn't matter what you do. You can eat clean, and you still gain weight if your hormones are fucked. So these are risky things, and these diets that come out, it's crazy how they take off and how you see it. You know, you see these things if it fits your macros, and it is. It's shredded people who are doing photo shoots that you know they're taking on all sorts of stimulants, and they're, you know, eating the donuts, and usually they're not doing as much as they show they're doing it too. You know, like it's for the gram.
Yeah.
Well, Mike, what if somebody, even drugs aside, a lot of people do the if it fits your macros and it still works.
Yeah.
You know, for a period of time. What do you say to that?
It works. Now we're skewing the test, right? So I can prove anything if I know what the end result should be. I can come up with any sort of scientific test, and I can actually come up with 10 different equally accurate results, undisputable results. So if it fits your macros, how is eating Pop-Tarts and fucking ice cream enhancing me to cellular level? Am I optimizing my micronutrient intake if I'm consuming 20, 30, 40% of my total calories from synthetic processed foods? No, I'm not. It's not possible. And if you're taking supplements to try and offset that, that should be an indicator that maybe something's weird here. If I'm eating food, but I have to take more synthesized products in order to mimic what I should be getting from my food, maybe that food's not fucking good. It's common sense. So when you're fitting macros, now macros work, but you can fit macros with high micronutrient density, which is why we focus on earth-grown nutrients, real food. If you have a high micronutrient density, then your body actually needs less total calories in consumption to get those micros to be fulfilled. Then, and we fucking play with macros, of course, in here. We have elite athletes competing in world-class competition. So, I mean, but we don't mess with the macros until we have the micros optimized. I don't want to get deep into personal, backgrounds and histories, but we work with Galen Rupp. Galen Rupp earned the bronze medal for the United States in the Olympics in the marathon this past year. He runs out of the Oregon Project for Nike. They contacted us to help him with his performance. Fascinating to work with that individual. Some of the best teams in the world around that individual. What we focused on solely was micronutrients. We were able to help this young man at the end of his career in his early 30s, where most other runners are on the backside, have a resurgence in the peak just by focusing on micros. We didn't care about macros at all. It was micronutrients that mattered most. Taking an elite specimen like that, you can notice if he's 1, 2, 3 seconds behind on laps and splits and intervals, and you can really, calculate and see where there's a little bit of a lag. We have access to that data because his team's so amazing. Seeing that and seeing the marked improvements from a micro level, that's all it was about. So I can extrapolate that onto the general population who can't. You're not timing. If you're, within 10 seconds of your best mile, that's a big deal. I mean, these people are so specific with what they do. So for the average person, it all comes down to micronutrient, cellular health. We're cellular organisms, right? Nobody can argue or dispute that. So if our cellular organism is not functioning optimally, if it's not optimally nourished, how can we think just by playing with the macronutrient percentage will somehow surpass that necessity and make us into what we need to be? Now, can you get lean and can you hold muscle? Absolutely. Can you get down to a certain weight class? Absolutely. Are you healthy? No. Are you optimized? No. Are you performing to the best of your ability at that with that style? Absolutely not. Nobody can ever point to a study or prove in any way, shape, or form that that's ideal to micronutrient-fulfilled nutrition, real nutrition, coupled with a macro profile on top of that.
Yeah, can you break down what are micronutrients versus macronutrients for the audience, and what are the common micronutrients that people are missing out on?
Okay.
What you see deficiencies commonly?
Micronutrients are essential in all cellular interactions. Micronutrients would be commonly known as iron and magnesium and phosphorus and calcium, things that we all know of, we all hear of, but we really disregard. People drink milk because it has calcium. Well, spinach has more calcium per gram than milk does. I'm not a milk guy, but it's kind of, so that's a whole nother conversation.
Popeye taught us.
Yeah, well, after the break, that's what we'll talk about if we can remember that.
Yeah. Possibly.
Possibly. So, making sure your micronutrients are in effect. Now, let's say iron. So if your iron is deficient, well, your body is not going to be oxygenating the blood supply nearly to what it could if you're not taking optimum zinc or magnesium. And we all know of ZMA products, right? That has a positive benefit on mood, on immunity, on possible testosterone increase, general, muscle mass replication. It certainly does help with. So if there's deficiencies there, you're not getting. Now, you can supplement with certain things. Now, somewhere, and there's so many different ones, the most common would be, let's say, a vitamin D deficiency. Most people, if you got your blood work done, and most people should get their blood work done every 3 months, most people don't get it done at least every 3 years, which is insane. But every 3 months we're getting our blood work done, we can find deficiencies, we can define micronutrient deficiencies, and that's what we do here. So all of our clients that we have, we work with our dietitians. We ask for blood work, we analyze the blood work, and we can start prescribing meal plans based upon filling out those micronutrient deficiencies, helping balance out hormonal states, and then also starting to work on blood sugar sensitivities and cardiac function and thyroid. So we can assist through nutrition based upon blood work, based upon the data, and usually we liaise with the medical team. So it's this group effort. So with that, I'm still on the micronutrient topic. If you're not consuming fresh foods, earth-grown nutrients, produce, nuts and seeds and red peppers and tomatoes and asparagus and chard, and if you don't have this eclectic mix of earth-grown foods, you're likely not optimizing. And even if you are, it's difficult to fully optimize your diet in that capacity. So most people are running around deficient. And the more diverse your food intake, the more rich your food, the higher quality of food, and that's not coming from Pop-Tarts. That they might be delicious. They are delicious, right?
What about Fruity Pebbles?
Fruity Pebbles are
They
delicious.
got minerals in them and stuff.
They do. They look like little rocks, right? It's the whole concept. Delicious, but let's not fuck around and pretend. Now, like, if you're already doing that and you're in that top 80% and you just slam a fucking chest workout, high-intensity resistance workout, you've dumped all the fucking glycogen, all the glucose, purge your body, and you go and slam a Fruity Pebble, fucking bowl of Fruity Pebble, or 2 or 3 with chocolate milk, yeah, we can prove that that's going to fucking work, right? That's going to work. We're going to reglycogenate the fucking blood supply, the muscle supply. We're going to do that for sure. But can we do it better? Could we fucking blend down some jasmine rice, mix with some fucking coconut oil and some grapes and blueberry and fucking slam that instead? Yeah, we can fucking do that too. That's what we're going to do over here. So you guys can, pop your fucking tarts and eat your ice cream and do all your other shit. But that typically leads to disordered eating. And that's what you were talking about before. Most people have disordered eating, and it doesn't mean anorexia or bulimia. It's just your relationship with food is fucked up. Well, I never eat after 6. Well, I know. What if you ran a fucking marathon until 5:59? Like, so yeah. Like they have this really weird relationship with food.
Yeah. What kind of testing or tracking do you do with your athletes? Blood work, workouts, meal tracking, photos of meals, things like that. Like, what do you do with your athletes that you have found effective?
So what we do is quarterly blood work and DEXA scans. So we want to see, all their blood work at a complete panel. We have baselines. Also, DEXA scans, so we can look at composition. We can look at bone density, but also we can get segmental mass analysis. Mm-hmm. We can look at intra and extracellular water, and we can have a good understanding of if we're making progress. The whole team is making progress within the system because Olympic athletes are on a 4-year cycle. Fighters are typically fighting 2 or 3 times a year, so quarterly, essentially.
And DEXA scans are nice because you're going to get segmentally each different part of the body down to like 1/10 of a gram of how much body fat you have.
Yes.
Like, it's very accurate.
Where would someone go for a DEXA scan? Because I know, like, a lot of this stuff people go, well, I have no idea who the fuck do I go for blood work or DEXA scans. Like, it's, they hear it, but I know most people are like, I have no idea where to go.
No, great question. So blood work, go to your primary doctor. And you can even find places online, relatively inexpensive. You can go to a local LabCorp or whatever, blood testing facility if you don't have a primary doctor. DEXA scans is more like an MRI. So there's hydrostatic weighing, which is water immersion. There's a bod pod, which is air displacement. Both awesome, very effective with what they put out. A little harder to find and get to. DEXA scans seem to be a little easier, and they're more accessible to the average person. You just lay down on the table. It's like a tanning bed, more so than you're sitting in this fucking egg with a swim cap on, and some people get uncomfortable with that.
But DEXA scan's easy, and out of everything I've done, it seems it's the coolest.
Yeah,
because you get to see your bone density and like how much the picture is cool.
Yeah.
You look at the
can see all
picture,
your-
it's like,
there's my liver.
yeah,
full
like,
body
you can
X-ray.
see like, oh, that's my muscles, and then that's like the fatty tissue outside the muscles. It's
Yep.
it's a visual representation. It's not just numbers.
I've always thought that's how trainers should sell training, by the way. It's
that?
like it's just DEXA scans, because like chiropractors scan your spine and they go, you're all fucked up, and you go, oh shit, because you see it.
Yeah.
But like
Maybe I
with training, people walk in and go, I want
He's
to lose
using the
30
same
pounds,
spine.
and you're like, where did that number come from? It's just arbitrary. But if you showed them, anyway,
Right.
I don't
Okay,
wanna
so
go off
hey,
there.
we got derailed. So quarterly blood work and quarterly DEXA scans.
Quarterly blood work.
Okay.
Quarterly DEXA scans. So that makes the athlete accountable to the test to make sure that we're in range where we should be. Now, we don't take a photo every day. We're not babysitters. I'm not leaning over their shoulder. We're paid professionals to provide a service. That's what we do. And we just ask anyone who works with us to work as hard as we do. So if we have a question or if we have a suggestion, we ask that we communicate that and converse about that and implement that if we agree to do so. But, for people that just disappear and they pop their head back up, they're like, oh, life's been crazy. You don't get a lot of our attention. Because there are people that are compliant. They are doing what they need to do. And there's only so many hours and so many days, and there's only so many people that we can work with at that elite level. So you work with us as hard as we'll work, and we fucking work hard here. You know what I mean? But we're working for others. So we're serving, and that's really truly what we're doing. And if they're not receptive to that, we don't do the babysitting thing.
Yeah, I find the babysitting comment really interesting, because I think a lot of people, if in the general population, they get a personal trainer or something like that, and they are wanting to get a babysitter in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Like, just tell me what to do. Like I don't want to know. I don't want to think about anything. Just tell me exactly what to do. Hold me accountable. If I don't show up, give me a call so I show up.
Yep.
And it seems to be very much the opposite. Like you're saying, with working with professional athletes, it's like if they don't show up, it's like, what?
Yeah.
What the fuck are you doing here? Like you're training for a world title and you miss practice. This probably doesn't happen that often, but like if
Yeah, what happens?
for that person, yeah, you wouldn't think it would happen, but I guess it probably
happens.
does.
Wait.
For that person, you shouldn't have to be the person to motivate that person. Like I grew up kind of more in strength and conditioning, where it was mostly like college and professional athletics was kind of like the standard for how you're supposed to act with your athletes, where it wasn't like general population personal training. And so my strength coach growing up, he always emphasized that like my job is not to motivate you. That is not what I'm here for. If you need motivation, then go somewhere else, because that is not the dynamic. Like, you're supposed to show up motivated and be excited to fucking work out and think you're lucky to be here. And if you have a problem with being motivated and you don't want to be here, then don't show up. Like, I am not here to babysit you. And I always thought that was a standard. And so it was actually hard to transition out of that to like working with regular people who this is not their life. It's just something that they feel like they kind of have to do on the side in some cases. So I like having that distinction, because it's a whole different world working with professional athletes versus just regular people.
It's a big difference. I don't want to. The regular people are compliant for different reasons. Narcissism, being narcissistic, it's not a bad thing, and everybody is to a degree. The pro athlete, they want to win the money and get the cheers and make the look good in the bikini or the suit or whatever the hell it is. And the average person, they just want to look good for their spouse or at the beach reunion or whatever it is. There's a narcissism to that too, but that's not the driving force. So those that come in here, because we work with everybody, from elite athletes to morbidly obese. Doctor says you got 6 fucking months unless you make a serious change. So when they walk in motivated with different goals. Those who aren't the pros walk in with, I think, more valuable goals. It's for my kids. I had the life scare. I'm fed up with this person that I've been for the last 20 years. And today's the day. Today's the day. I don't smoke a cigarette, and I move forward. I enjoy that more. The pros are great and all that good stuff. And individually, there's a few that are just amazing human beings that do it for the right reasons, just so happen to be so genetically gifted and hardworking that they excel in their passionate, sport or activity. But it's internal. And every person here in this room, every person, listening and watching, every person has that ability to internalize and create the life that they want, make the decisions and be mindful. And we're very black and white. It's yes or no. It's success or failure. Either way, every decision fucking matters and makes up. It's no gray. So if we're making the yes, the good decision, the positive, the success decision, then fucking life automatically and everything sweeps that way. You can't be a really good businessman and be really fucking shit, health person. You can't be a really like fucking scumbag spouse, but be a really good friend. It's all or fucking nothing in our opinion. So we fucking throw everything to the yes, and we fuck up all the time. We make mistakes. We're human, right? But we're always intentionally skewing towards that success, towards the yes. And we align best with individuals, pro athlete or regular, who has that same mentality or at least adopts that mentality. And we say, we meet you where you are, and we'll walk with you. We'll make that first decision with you, and the next decision, we'll go through that way.
And you said something important there, the internal motivation, and I think that it's the same with those that get success that aren't athletes. An athlete's internally motivated because of a belief system they've created about winning the prize, right? And so they're driven, and the commitment is to that prize. With a regular Joe, just anyone who's not competitive in a sense, like that internal drive often doesn't exist, and the motivation comes from an external source. They see a friend that has abs or a model that has abs, and they all want abs based on an external motivation there. And so when they get into it, and then they realize this is what it takes, they're like, oh, I'm not fucking committed to this. But then they lie to themselves because society says you should be skinny, so they go, oh, I need to get in weight. But it shows in their work, and it quickly becomes clear. And that's why, people don't show up. It's like, well, you're not committed. And like, oh, I have all these other issues. It's like the issues is this is not a priority. And so when you talk about like the doctor, the person coming in, they understand their why. Like, this is life or fucking death. It's at that point. Most people unfortunately don't get to that until something fucking happens, and there's a trigger. And it's sad, but it has to come from the internal motivation, because if you're looking what everyone else is doing and that's what's motivating you, you're fucked. Yeah. It's just, you're fucked. So, it sounds like that's exactly the people that come to you, are those people, they found their true why. Like, this is why I want to do this. And it's like, now I can fucking work with you,
True.
So earlier we dug into macros, and that's obviously one of like the big trends in nutrition right now in the world. I wouldn't necessarily say it's new, but like the way it's packaged and the name is new, of course, and it seems really popular. People are getting results from it, et cetera. But you had some strong opinions about it. I'm wondering what other trends are happening right now that you have strong opinions about. Ketosis, intermittent fasting, et cetera.
Oh, this sounds amazing.
Yeah.
So we should take a break.
Take a break.
Come back and get right into it.
We won't get fucking fired up right now.
Welcome to Technique Wad. I'm Mike Dolce here, staying with Mark Devine. Today we're going to be checking out some box breathing, some tactical breathing. He's basically going to teach us how breathing can make us better people and better athletes. Make sure to check out episode 166 of Barbell Shrugged. There we discuss all this stuff in a lot of detail. So make sure that as you're watching this, to stop driving. If you happen to be driving, you shouldn't be watching this while you're driving, but I know some of you do. Sit down in a nice quiet room and do this along with us.
So you've probably noticed how important breathing is to training in your life, and we're going to spend a little time training. What my philosophy is that those things that are most important and critical in a life, we should train them. And I feel the same way about breathing. When you take control of your breath, you relearn how to breathe deeply using the full lung capacity, learn how to breathe through your nose, learn how to breathe in a controlled pattern. All sorts of cool things start happening. We can perform better, we can think more clearly, we can make better decisions while under duress. We're better, basically, leaders because we're able to be in more control of our body and our mind, our physiology, and our psychology. So, but it doesn't happen by random. Just like, throwing up a snatch PR isn't random. You've got to work toward it. Same thing with breathing. So there's two drills I'm going to teach here. One is called the tactical breath. This is the breath that Navy SEALs use to stay calm and centered in a firefight. It's very, very simple. While we do this, I want you to put your right hand on your belly. So what we want to do essentially is begin by activating the breath by pulling our belly out or pushing our belly out, and let that pull the breath in through our nostrils, deep into our belly, and then just press it back in. So this is called a belly breath. This is your first drill. So just do that 3 times. So your belly goes out, and then you press it back in, and you try to touch your spine with your belly button. And what that's doing is pulling the breath deep into your lungs, as opposed to just filling the upper part of your lungs. For instance, when you breathe through your mouth like this, your chest is going to go out and you're just using the upper part of your lungs. Now we want to breathe into our belly and then activate our diaphragm. So this is a 2-part breath. So it goes belly, diaphragm. So your chest is going to start to lift, and then diaphragm, belly, Okay, do that one more time. Good. And then the third is a 3-part breath. So we'll go belly, diaphragm, and then chest. So we're going to have like a slight raise of our shoulders. So we'll go belly, diaphragm, and then chest. And then chest, diaphragm, belly. Okay? Now the goal here with this is just to show you those 3 parts of your breath where your belly's doing some work to pull air down, diaphragm's doing work to pull air more into the center of your chest, and then your upper chest is doing its work, and all the muscles of your breathing mechanism are getting engaged in the act of breathing. Now, the other thing I want to mention is it's really important that we breathe through our nose when we can during performance. Okay, so there's times when we just can't do it because we need to get the volume of oxygen in. But when you can, like if you set a kettlebell down or you move, in between major activities, then we breathe through our nose because the breath through the nose, there's a couple things that happen. One is it releases trace amounts of nitrous oxide, which help deliver the oxygen and the nitrogen, the carbon dioxide, the fuel to our cells, so it boosts our performance. If you just breathe through your nose, it doesn't happen. And 2 is we're going to stimulate some nerve cells that exist in your kind of nervous system beneath or behind your sternum, near your near your spine, that trigger the parasympathetic nervous system. So that is your kind of rest and digest. You're all jacked up with fight or flight, so when you breathe deeply through your nose toward your belly or into your belly, then you're calming yourself down. If you calm your body down, then you're calming your mind down, right? That's a 2-step process. All right, so a lot of information there coming at you rapid fire, but this breath, the tactical breath, is a way to calm yourself down. So the way it's going to work is we're going to do a 4-count inhale, belly, diaphragm, chest, and then we're going to do a long exhale. Don't worry about the count. If you need to, it can also be a 4-count, but I actually prefer that it be a 6 or an 8 count because that's going to really calm me down. So inhale, 4-count. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. You can constrict your throat a little bit so you can have that little wind tunnel sound. Get it all out. As soon as you exhale the last, that's when the inhale starts. Good. It's a great breathing exercise to do again, like in the middle of a workout or anytime a tense situation. Just inhale, belly, diaphragm, chest. Immediately just let that air release. Exhale. And take it all the way to the bottom, and then as you press the last bit of air out, then let the inhale begin. It's also okay to have a slight pause between the inhale and the exhale. You'll feel that kind of moment of presence when you do that. So we call this the tactical breath. Also, the 1-2 breath in that the ratio is 4 count in, that's 1, meaning representing the number 1, and 8 count out, representing the number 2. So 2 times 4. So it's inhale, exhale. Super calming. If you've been following along and doing the training, which I hope you have, then you'll probably feel a lot calmer already. So continue that breath while I set up the second training. I mentioned that breath, that tactical 1-2 ratio breath, is to be used during performance. So when you're in the boardroom, when you're in an intense setting like a workout, a training session, or a firefight, that's what we use. That inhale, slow exhale, we stay calm and centered. However, the second training thing that I want to do is really meant for a controlled environment, like we're sitting here right now with Barbell Shrugged, in a calm environment where we have control. We're not going to get a mortar lobbed at us, right? We're not going to hear the 3, 2, 1 timer. We've got time to practice. So this is practice time. We're going to practice our breathing. It's great to do this after a workout. It's great to do it in the morning when you wake up, in the evening when you go to bed. We do it at the end of every workout and at the end of every warrior yoga training session. Sometimes we'll throw it in the beginning. But we try to do this training maybe 3 to 4 times a day for a minimum of 5 minutes. It has a lot of the benefits of meditation, but it's much more focused in that we're concentrating on controlling our breath getting all the benefits of the physiology and the psychology in terms of control and centered and focus. And also because we're kind of rewiring our breathing pattern, our automatic breathing pattern, it's much easier for us to click into that tactical breath at will or even automatically, unconsciously when we're in a stressful situation. Again, you won't perform a perfect snatch unless you train a perfect snatch. Same thing with the breath. So the box breathing is meant for training the tactical breath for performing. Now the box breathing practice is really similar, except what we're going to do is just add a hold at the top or at the inhale and a hold at the exhale or suspension, right? So it looks like this. We go inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold your breath, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold your breath, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hence the box pattern. So this is a 1, 1, 1, 1 ratio as opposed to the 1, 2 ratio of the tactical breath. All right, so let's do some training here. We're going to do about a 5-minute session of box breathing. The breath will be at a 5 count. So we're going to do a 5 count inhale, 5 count hold, 5 count exhale, 5 count hold. I'm going to use a sound application on my iPhone. If you're interested, this app it's pretty good. It's the best one I've found. And it's called Pranayama Universal Breathing. Pranayama. 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 And so when I start this app, you're going to hear a sound that corresponds to the inhale, a different sound for the hold, a different sound for the exhale, a different sound for the exhale hold. So it's really a nice way to follow along. Gives us something for our mind to focus on. So you concentrate on the sound and the count. If you don't want to count, then just follow the sound. So there's 2 ways to do it. All right? So here we go. We're going to begin by exhaling all the air out of our lungs. Good. And inhale. Hold. Exhale. You can keep your eyes open, but soften your gaze or close your eyes. Hold in the exhale. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Relax. Clear your mind. Hold. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Hold. Clear your mind. In. Hold. Exhale. Hold. Inhale. Hold. With this pattern, you'll be doing 3 breaths per minute. Exhale. Hold. In. Hold. Exhale. Hold. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Hold. Just a few more rounds. Really focus, commit. Inhale. Clear your mind. Hold. Exhale. Hold. Inhale. Hold. Feeling good, looking good. I'd be in Hollywood. Exhale. Hold. One more. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Hold. Good. Note the difference, like how you feel physically and also how clear your mind is, and just kind of benchmark that. You should feel really calm and relaxed. Make that a performance benchmark. Cool, so hey, that's just one of many breathing exercises that we train in our Unbeatable Mind program at SealFit. You can learn more about it at sealfit.com, or I'd love to offer you guys a free trial to our online training, which is at unbeatablemind.com/promo. So that's a 30-day free trial, so go check it out. All right? Hoo-yah, train hard, stay safe, have fun. Coach Devine out.
All right, we're back with Mike Dolce. What are the trends you're seeing that maybe seem ridiculous to you or disagree with, or maybe some trends that you like?
Well, I think the ones that I disagree with are what I call exclusionary diets. So telling the mass population that they all must exclude certain vital nutrients, certain healthy nutrients, certainly scientifically researched and supported nutrients, they cannot consume those because this fucking orange and blue book says you shouldn't. You know what I mean? I don't know about that. Now, if you say, hey, like, here's a great way to eat that's good for some people, it's not right for everybody, but, you know, this is the reasons why. And I think Rob Wolf, Paleo, talks a great thing. Paleo is very good as a transitional diet to get people off of processed foods, to kind of start making it's boxed in a very nice manner. People can easily transition off and widen their food choices.
Yeah, I think what's common is people think about going paleo all the time, no matter what.
Yeah.
And a lot, if you listen to Rob Wolf's podcast or if you read his book, you realize, I mean, if you're looking at it from my perspective, the way I've seen it is it's a great thing for people who are sick.
Yeah.
If you're sick and you're fat and you don't know where to start and you need to make a huge change, that's the best place to go. But
a good place. I wouldn't say the best place.
Yeah. Okay.
But, you know.
But like, it's a good place for people to go.
Sure.
But when athletes who are doing a lot of work try to stick to that, it becomes problematic.
But they don't even know what the fuck it is. That's the biggest thing. The same with the keto diet. People, I'm in ketosis. You know, are you?
You're not. And, you know, and keto, that fits well into this conversation because most people follow the, quote, keto diet and the keto lifestyle, and they're fat adapted. But they're not. They're just eating a high-fat, usually high-protein diet. Now, a high-fat, high-protein diet does not mean you've achieved the metabolic state or initiated the metabolic process of ketosis, where your body is now preferentially running on fat. That's not the case for the vast majority of the population, even though you're eating zero carbs. And now, are you eating a zero carb diet, a completely zero carb diet devoid of any carbohydrate? Are you eating a low carb diet, which we would determine to be below 40 grams, but low carb should be probably closer to that sub 20%? Are you eating that's very low, or a low carb diet? A low carb diet would be, between 120 and 150 grams of carbohydrate today. Are you carb cycling? You have your high days and your low days. Most people who, quote, say they're in ketosis or they're following the keto diet have 1 or 2 high carb days per week. Now, if we think about it, they also say, well, it only takes 3 or 4 days to hit ketosis. So if you're having 1 carb day per week, well, then you're out of ketosis for at least 4 of the 7 days. So you're not on a ketogenic diet. You're on more of a low carb diet. And that's okay to say that. But don't think you've achieved the metabolic state of ketosis, because the vast majority of people have not. They simply have not. And we see a lot of people that come in here and they have the questions, and those that say they've done it. I say, well, have you been measuring you have keto sticks? Are you measuring your urine? Like, no, not really, but I'm eating this, I'm eating like that. Well, how the fuck you know? You don't know. These people don't know, but they assume. So what we do is we take that. Now, if anyone's ever followed the ketogenic diet, you feel like shit. Have you guys ever followed it? No.
Right.
I wouldn't say I've done the ketogenic diet. I've cut enough carbs out of my diet where my
low
piss
carb,
started
very low
smelling.
carb. Okay.
Yeah.
Does your breath stink?
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe you have achieved it, but maybe not. You don't know. And how long did you sustain it
always
for?
Always.
Always
Stinks.
stinks.
This guy never brushes his teeth.
But how long did you follow it for? Was it months on?
I wouldn't say I've ever followed a diet. What I'm saying is, I cut out enough carbs to cut
miserable?
down. I was cutting down on weight.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't feel great.
So, and then to kind of back out
I
again.
suspected I was in ketosis, but I wasn't measuring.
And who knows? And it's so. Now, ketosis is not a bad thing. It's a great thing, and it's very scientifically sound. But for the average population to walk around and try to attain ketosis, or believe and fucking wear the T-shirt that they are fucking in ketosis, that's not exactly true. If they were more understanding of what's actually happening to their body, they would be better custodians of their body and of their health. And then they could truly dictate rapid physique augmentation or performance parameters. So if you're following a low carb or a very low carb diet for more than 3 or 4 days, and you try and do something explosive, something requiring glucose as the primary fuel source, well, you're going to fucking shit out. All your lifts are going to go down. It's going to be very hard to make, quote, gains. So if you're an athlete, or if you're even just an exercise enthusiast, it's not ideal. If you have some sort of insulin issue, an insulin sensitivity, or you're sensitive or insensitive to insulin, I'll explain that in a second. Having a low carb, very low carb, ketogenic style meal plan is a great way to begin, but slowly you want to start integrating carbohydrate sources to be stored as glycogen, to be readily used as glucose when the muscles actually need those, because the body simply cannot from ketones, from stored fat. So there's a dramatic performance issue. Also, those that are following ketogenic diets typically fall on the nutrient deficient side, because they dramatically limit, and this is what I say, exclusionary diets, they dramatically limit their pool, their food pool, their nutrient source, their micronutrient source. It becomes very difficult. Now, most humans are fucking lazy, and they're not going to go to 3 different supermarkets and buy all the necessary ingredients that they need to be optimized if they were to achieve a ketogenic or to achieve ketosis. So I'm not mad at keto at all. But what it is, I'm mad at the people who blindly follow fucking logos with not knowing the context behind it. Like, if you're following a ketogenic diet, are you actually in ketosis? And if so, for how long? And it takes a hell of a lot longer for most people to achieve ketosis than 3 or 4 days. Some people, it takes weeks, and all the science is there that supports that and points to that. You're not going 40 fucking years eating carbs every day, and in 3 days you're magically fucking fat adapted. The shit's not fucking working that way. The body doesn't work that way with everybody. Some people, some outliers, maybe it will. Some may be kind of close, and some fucking never, not even close. That's the way the human body really works. So then we need to understand it. And I speak like this so people can be like, oh, fuck you, you don't know what you're talking about. You're just hating. No, I'm not. I just want people to open their minds and understand more about what they're consuming and what's happening metabolically. What are they doing to their body? What are they doing for their body? And then how are they asking their body to perform as a result of this? Now, most of the time, if you're following a ketogenic or zero carb diet, from a very low carb to a zero carb to a ketogenic diet, and there's differentiation between those categories. Most people don't understand the differentiation between that. Being in ketosis, being zero carb, being very low carb, being low carb, being carb cycling, completely different fucking meal plans. That's NFL to fucking Aussie rules right there. It's a dramatic difference. People don't grasp that. We grasp that here because this is what we do every fucking day. We see the blood work. We see the people. We hear the stories. We know the lifestyle. We see the budget. We know the groceries. I know the fucking bowel movements of our clients in here. We get down, we get that dirty with it. So we have a unique understanding that maybe some people don't. They have intellectual academia, they have read it, but they don't have as many case studies that they get to discuss this with, and then have their own petri dishes that are in field right now that we're constantly tweaking and learning and hypothesizing and concluding and continuing on.
Yeah, the fat adapted piece.
Yep.
My perspective on it, ketosis is a great place to be if you're a sedentary individual. Like a lot of these Silicon Valley types who they actually aren't doing hardly any physical activity. They might be doing a little bit of yoga or something like that. It's a lot easier to be in ketosis in that situation. But somebody who's doing CrossFit or fighting, it's a very glycolytic sport. To try and cut out all sugar or all carbs is really ridiculous. I've seen a lot of athletes do that, and they can't understand why they can't get past this plateau. They add in carbs, and magically all these doors open up to them.
Absolutely.
And then they're like, oh, I went from depressed to feeling amazing.
And I would counter and add to that those more cerebral, more cognitive of individuals that maybe they're not athletic, they're not physical, but they're more cognitive, well, they need glucose also. Because glucose, in our opinion, is the preferred fuel source for the brain. Those in the keto community will refute that and point to great science. We'll refute theirs and point to other great science. So then it comes down to real-world observation. What do I see? I see dramatic benefit to those that have controlled carb intake from healthy carbs, from earth-grown nutrients, to based upon activity, recovering that big fucking, simple sugar white rice fucking surge post-workout, or kind of slow and sustained thinking into the future, almond butter, sprouted grain bread, steel-cut oats, berries, raw honey drizzled, a little bit to kind of coast through because you have the next 2 to 4 hour block of activity. That's the way we look at it. So when we have a lot of high net worth clients and the executives and CEOs, powerful people that use their brain, typically they're physical also. If they're fucking low carb, zero carb, fat adapted, they're fucking foggy and they're slow and they're fucking emotional. And that's real world understanding. Now, I can make a shitload of fucking money off of keto. If I was like, keto's the fucking best, and I'll follow that through and go all the way through, I could fucking sell products and do the whole deal. Just speaking honest. And it sucks that I do see that we do see that our team sees that. So because of that, I still don't agree that a ketogenic diet is the best for the majority of the population. I think there's a small segment of the population it can work really well for, 10 to 20%, but probably closer to the 10%. The rest of the population is better served through a wide variety of earth-grown nutrients eaten with regularity to maximize micronutrient diversity. That's our approach. And then we skew that based upon performance. If you want to run a marathon or if you want to be in a USAW meet. What's your goal? Because we can do both within those same confines. You can't do both within paleo. You can't do both within keto. You can't do both within Atkins or intermittent fasting. You can't do. So from our perspective, ego-free, well, what's the best way for the vast majority of the population to nourish themselves? This is the way. That's why we have principles. We don't have rules. We don't say, hey, it's body weight times X equals your protein grams per kilogram. We don't fucking care about that shit. Now, that's minutia. That's when do we have a comp up set up? Okay, 12, 16 weeks, 8 weeks beforehand, we come up with a periodized peaking cycle. Nutrition goes into that too. Until then, it's all fucking diversity, And that's, I think, kind of went long on this topic. But the show, I'm not, in the headlines, Doug Larson, wife scandal. The headlines. Not again.
She watches every show.
You got
He's fucked.
I know. My first wife, she watches every show we have.
And the headline sometimes is like Dolce bashes keto. No, I don't. It's fucking great. And we use that concept sometimes. But it's not great for most people. And that's what the education, because we're an education company, a content company. We're an endorsed educational provider for the National Strength and Conditioning Association and the National Academy of Sports Medicine. That's what our content is supported by. So putting that out there, I hope that everyone who's listening, they really take another look at this information and maybe add some quinoa and some fucking steel-cut oats to their diet and not shut that shit out, especially if they're fucking going ham in the gym and fucking trying to hit PRs like we all should. In whatever capacity, we all should be pushing ourselves and challenging ourselves.
I mean, we would have got
another
off.
segment.
I feel like you would have said the same thing about what if we had picked any other specific diet that is
every diet.
Atkins
same thing.
So and that's what's interesting is that this is kind of the time we're in now. Is everyone wants to think they're the same. You know, like there's this like, well, we're all the same, therefore there should be one diet, one thing. Marketing 101, that sells, like you said. The reality is that we're not, and that's kind of the biggest thing. And what you mentioned earlier in the show, I think is important to bring up as well, is like we never know what, like if someone is on keto who is sedentary and sits at a desk all day, you know, what else are they taking? Are they taking Adderall? Are they taking Monster Energy drinks? Like that is a big thing. And I think you mentioned earlier, is like if you're having to substitute supplements because your diet is deficient, not because your diet is right and the body's still deficient, that's kind of probably a sign, you know, people listening, if they're eating a diet and they're having to take a lot of other supplements to make sure their blood work is right, it's probably a sign that the diet's probably not what's best suited for you. And, you know, you can test your DNA, you can test your blood, you can get the baseline for where you should start. But from my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, like all bodies need carbohydrates, protein, and fat. There's not one you can cut out.
The body's highly adaptable. The body will survive in perilous states, but that's not optimal. So, and we're trying to find optimal states of health for longevity. Again, we're a longevity company. We're not a sports performance company. It just so happened that we focus on longevity. Sports performance is immediately improved. Body composition immediately improved. General well-being immediately improved.
This is becoming a very common thing amongst coaches who've been in the game for a while. They start focusing on longevity, and all of a sudden, the immediate performance, it might lag in the very beginning.
Yeah.
But, you know, a few months in, when you're looking at longevity and putting that, you know, as important as how we're performing tomorrow, all of a sudden the athletes start performing at a much higher level.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what it is, because it's long term. You know, it's our body. This is our tool. We have to protect it. You know, we have to go home. We have to sharpen our axe and you know, rub it with oil. We got to put it in its sheath, you know, very gently, and we have to take care of it. Most people don't. They just fucking throw it in the back with the beer bottles, you know, and zoom on down the road. You know, leave the windows down. It's fucking raining inside. They just don't give a shit. They take it all for granted.
You're describing my 20s.
I was looking at you. I had an idea.
So regarding optimal, you mentioned intermittent fasting a second ago. Is there any benefits to intermittent fasting? Like, why do people do it, and what do you see as the pros and cons?
So intermittent fasting is a great concept, and it works well. The problem is, number one, are we fulfilling our micronutrient requirements? If we have a shorter and shorter window, some people are doing a 6-hour feeding window. They're only eating for 6 out of 24 hours. It's difficult to get in enough micronutrients and total calories that can be digested efficiently and absorbed without causing a cascade of other digestive issues. That can't happen if you think about it. If I'm eating, you know, I'm 220 pounds. If I'm eating 25 to 3,200 calories in a 6-hour period, it's a little difficult for my gut to break down, especially when I'm eating, you know, bulky, fibrous, you know, nutrient, you know, diverse foods. I want to give my body time to break those down efficiently, store those, and I want to be running kind of empty for a little while in between my meals, eat until satisfied, not until full. We're not trying to bog down our digestive system. We always want to kind of feel loose and light and fueled. Now, intermittent fasting does work for short periods of time. It's a great way to increase insulin sensitivity. So is keto. When we go to that very low carb or zero carb intake, your body becomes very sensitive to insulin, and that is a good thing. We want our body to be sensitive to insulin so we have a good, healthy working relationship inside our body. The insulin isn't just shooting all over the place, fucking shoving everything on your hips and your fucking, donut around your belly, or ladies on the side of their ass. That's what happens. We want to become more sensitive with our insulin, and we do that by controlling it, by controlling the intake, by controlling the timing, by controlling the types, paired with exertion. And again, that's what did we just do, or what are we about to do? So we become more mindful. That's why keto's great. IF is great also, because the body goes a long time without that insulin surge, so it becomes more insulin sensitive. It can manage nutrient intake much better that way. I look at it like, 12 hours is enough. And if you're sleeping for 8 hours or so, you wake up and do a little light fasted cardio for general health and fitness, that's going to add another hour or two, sleeping for 8, 9, almost 10 hours. And if you don't eat 2 or 3 hours before you go to sleep, physically when you're asleep, well, shit, you just hit your 12 hours right there. 11 to 13, 12-hour hours. That's great for the general population. Some people, maybe they can close that to about 10 hours or so. Some people do 8. Now we're getting a little fucking crazy, and it's short term. For a short-term little peak, you got a beach thing coming up, or want to squeeze things down, 3 weeks or so, you can kind of play with that a little bit, but I wouldn't suggest it. I go a little longer on a 10 or 12-hour window and establish a healthy relationship with food. And what we call it the health and habit phase, the first 4 weeks of when people come on board with us, we just establish healthy habits. They go grocery shopping at the same place. They buy the same stuff. They kind of prep it about the same time. They eat about the same amount at the same time each day. And you can interchange in and out, but we remove a lot of the variables. So we just kind of get in this really nice, simple habit. We're completely fulfilled from a micro level. We start to kind of understand how the body works. Well, when are you hungry? When are you full? What meal did you devour? What meal was a little tough? Did we eat too much the meal prior or maybe the night before, which is why you're a little slow and sluggish and full? And we kind of play with that. We dial that in over those first 4 weeks, and then we kind of hit it zooming. But we're not, IF, we're not paleo, we're not excluding. We're actually trying to put a lot of different variety in there to really see what's working, what's not working, to dial in the individual. And then going back, of course, we have blood work, so we're making, informed suggestions on what the menu should be in the ingredient list as a result of what deficiencies there may or may not be.
What about less... not intermittent fasting, but just fasting in general. Like instead of doing something every day, what about, I hear people more and more recently talking about doing like a 24-hour fast once a month or a 40-hour fast every 6 weeks or something like that. They're not doing it generally for body comp reasons. They're doing it for more general health reasons, but I haven't dug too far into it, and I don't necessarily know what all those reasons are. Do you have any perspective on pros and cons of doing that?
We typically do once a week. We call it a modified fast. So typically a Sunday or so, we'll wake up and we'll just hydrate, and we'll skip that breakfast because typically Sunday's a lower expenditure day for us anyway. So it gives our digestive system time to kind of relax a little bit and switch into neutral, kind of repair itself, if you will, and reduce all the traffic through and some of the inflammation as a result of. And then we'll kick in our meals typically somewhere between 12 and 3. Kind of start with a lunch, and usually that lunch is more, fresh and raw, like a salad, something that's kind of salad and a soup, easy, but a lot of hydration, a lot of fluid throughout the day. We'll do teas, we'll do some coffee in the morning, so it's not, super hardcore. Maybe some coconut oil in the coffee, like an Invincible blend or something like that. We'll do to kind of get that little bit of energy perk. And so I have no problem with those that do a longer fast, but going a full day, I think it's diminishing returns. And you can show, again, good science that says, hey, there's good stuff. But in practical use, I don't really think that does anything different than kind of a midday, a third of the day kind of fast. Let's get some good nutrition. Let's super hydrate. Let's continue to clean out your body, but let's put some, really solid nutrients into you to assist that detox or cleanse or whatever. I'm not a fan of the juice cleanses. That doesn't make sense. Just fucking dumping sugar down your throat for, 1, 2, 3 days at a time. Unmediated, that doesn't make sense to us for sure. So I'd rather eat fucking nothing than just be dumping sugar down my throat.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people, they do a juice cleanse. They don't eat well at all.
Yeah.
Where they don't get a lot of micronutrients at all, and then they drink nothing but juice for 3 days, and then like, oh, I feel amazing.
Yeah. Well,
it's like you just made a really big swing. It's like someone who just came off of fast food, and well, fuck, I forgot the analogy I was going to use. But someone who just comes off of fast food and or stops drinking soda, but they're still eating hamburgers. Yeah. And it's like, oh, I feel amazing. It's like, well, compared to where you were at, this is really, really good.
Yeah.
But, I'm with you. Like, the if I'm going to fast, I'm just going to have water.
Have water, yeah. And just flush and chill and keep low activity and that's fine. But, so there's a lot of – and that really comes with, are you doing that – because you're following a proper meal plan for 3 to 6 months beforehand and you feel the need to do that? Most people do that because that's going to fix me, and then I'm going to start, and I got these new fucking shoes, and I'm going to go for a run on Monday. Like, hoorah, I'm going to fast this weekend. I'll go run. I got my new fucking shoes and my iPod thing. No, you're not. It's the same fucking cycle. Let's rewind 3 months when you
do one thing at a time, please.
Yeah.
It is funny. Like people want to start 10 things at once.
Yep.
I mean, I say that people because I've done it.
We all.
Which is like,
all of us.
Oh, it's like, oh, I've lived long enough to know we should just. I want to implement one thing per month.
Yep.
New shoes this month.
Yep.
Next month, eat some carbs.
Yeah.
When I was bodybuilding, my coach, he said the basics, like when he sent over the original plan, I was like, oh, what about this? What about this? He was like, well, if we start there, where do we go?
Yeah.
If you start with everything, where do you go? It's like if we just start here, in 30 days we look at where the body's responding, and maybe we add a second session of cardio in, maybe we add another weight session in, maybe we change the diet up a little bit. But it was like not the first time, but I'm a very all-in person, and it's just that's what you think at the beginning. You're like, I'm just going to start everything, but then it's like if you do everything, where do you go? How do you know what's working? How do you know what's not working? You know.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, that one's real big. Is knowing what works and what doesn't work. You know, I bought the big supplement stacks. It's like I start 5 new supplements. Which one works? Fuck if I know.
None of them.
Yeah.
Placebo.
Exactly, it is. Fuck, man. Almost all the sports supplements don't work.
Okay, so which supplements do you like? Which ones do you dislike?
The ones that we like, and truly we have one in market, which is the Dolce Whey. It's a grass-fed whey protein isolate. It's cold processed. It's cross-flow microfiltered. It's non-GMO. It's as good of a whey protein isolate as anywhere on the planet. There's some as good. There's certainly none better, and no one can refute that. That being said, we say not everybody should be taking that. That's saved for those that are in the 20% fucking mark. And they need to get 250 to 300 grams of protein per day on certain days. And they need the convenience of that, easy to dissolve fucking powder they can just jam down right after a workout. That's not for everybody, for sure. That being said, like BCAAs, they're containing a fucking whey protein isolate. Why are you going to take a bottle of fucking BCAAs or the stupid scoop of the blueberry fucking raspberry fruity pebble flavored fucking BCAAs? That's all fucking sucralose or aspartame. Why are you going to consume that fucking garbage, synthetic bullshit? And I fucking say, if your supplement company is putting sucralose and aspartame and acesulfame potassium in your fucking health supplements, they give two fucking shits about you. All they care about is fucking margins for their company. And that's okay too, because they're running fucking businesses, but don't pretend they fucking care about your health, because for a little less fucking margin, they can do it with quality ingredients. And they choose not to. We choose to. And I will always choose to. If I ever support a supplement or put a supplement out there, it's going to be the highest quality fucking ingredients and the highest margins that we can maintain while maintaining that fucking core concept.
Yeah.
Those other companies out there, fucking read their ingredients. If those fucking ingredients are in there, they don't give a shit. They're fucking maximizing margins, and that's okay from a corporate perspective, but not in my fucking house. Not in my body, not with my family. That's not what I'm fucking doing. I don't compete with them because we have one fucking, one little bag of whey protein that's just fucking floating around.
Yep.
So I'm not a supplement manufacturer. But that being said, you need to be very conscious of that, very clear of that, so you know what you're consuming, what you're fucking putting in your body, and who you're in business with.
Yeah.
Who you're supporting with your consumer dollar.
All right, so you like whey protein?
Yes.
If it's the highest quality.
Highest quality.
What other supplements do you like?
Like a vitamin D3. I think we're all vitamin D deficient. So I take 10,000 IUs of vitamin D3 per day. I live in Las Vegas, one of the sunniest places on the fucking planet. I'm a meathead. I'm outside with my fucking shirt all the time, trying to fucking be that dude. And I have, we all are.
I'm surprised you kept it
if
on.
you're not. But really, so, and even I tend to run low out here.
Right.
I eat a fucking better diet than most people, not the best in the world, but I eat really conscientious, and I'm still not able to always maintain optimal D levels. So vitamin D3, I personally take a DHEA supplement as a man. I've noticed through blood work that my level is low, and I need to supplement it now. I can at 41 years old maintain what it was in my earlier days. What else? I take a CoQ supplement, a CoQ10 supplement made by Jarrow, which I've really been testing that for the last few months, watching my blood work. I don't know if it works or not, but all the science is really solid. I don't see any downside to it. What else do we do? And sometimes I'll supplement with an additional B complex, additional vitamin C. My iron's good, magnesium's good, so all those areas are good just through food sources. If I'm trying to put on some mass or some sort of comp, I might supplement a little bit with that. But that's about it. Nothing on the sports supplement side.
All right. I do want to get, let's see, any supplements that you see are really popular right now that you just don't see much value?
Pre-workouts, BCAAs, fat burners, stimulants, fucking espresso. This is the only fucking espresso and a little bit of Metallica. Probably the only pre-fucking workout you need, right? I mean, that's if you need fucking more than that, go the fuck home. You shouldn't be in the fucking gym anyway. It makes no sense. So dumping that fucking garbage, and it's. I almost said poison, but I'm gonna pull back from that a little bit. You're gonna be polluting your body with fucking junk, and then trying to go and be fit and healthy. It just doesn't make fucking sense. It makes no sense. So products like that, and 95% of what you're gonna find in any vitamin store is all fucking shit. Is it quality? Maybe it's quality. I'd say probably half or less than half are actually what they say is on the label, because supplements are unregulated. Right? There's no fucking FDA really digging in and making sure that these manufacturers are putting out there. So you don't even know what you're buying. You don't know if there's contaminated shit. You hear about athletes all the time getting popped for contaminated stuff. That's legitimate. Yep. Because the USADA will go and test the batch, and they'll be like, holy shit, there was fucking D-ball in there. Like, oops. Oh, fucking bullshit.
I think I took Muscle Tech that was loaded when I was a teen. I gained like 40 pounds off of strawberry Muscle Tech. It tasted so fucking nasty, but I got jacked. Yeah. And I look back and I took Muscle Tech later on, and I'm like, this shit sucks. And I'm like, I bet you my shit was laced with stuff back in the day when it first came out. Because you think about it, right? You put a supplement out there, you lace it, everyone gets results. Take out the illegal ingredient, and all of a sudden everyone's like,
it's the best.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the formula.
Every time a supplement company comes out, like there's certain supplement companies that come out with a brand new product, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to get that. I know they put some shit in there.
I know it's good shit now.
I forget the name of the company, but they came out with Mag 10.
Yep, I remember the product, sure.
Remember taking Mag 10 when it first came out? My fucking eyes went bloodshot. I was like, fuck. I'm like benching a lot. And then, I looked back on it years later. I was like, they put D-ball in that shit.
How was it?
It's amazing.
Was it amazing? Fuck.
Jack 3D, right? It's got crack in it.
3D.
Like those guys, everyone's like, this is the best shit ever. Yeah, it's a methamphetamine. Like, that's why it's fucking good.
Dimethyl meth. That's what we call it. Artificial sweeteners.
Garbage. Why would you put it in your body? Why would you pollute your body? Why would you risk your fucking digestive environment? If nothing else, science has proven definitively that artificial sweeteners negatively affect your digestive environment. Yeah. Okay. Many, many, many scientific studies say there's a whole list of other negative health effects, and some of which we might not even know for another 20, 30 years. Some of which might not affect us consuming. They might affect our children. That science is there. That science is very valid. That science isn't often discussed because there's a lot of fucking money over here. A lot of fucking money. So this eventually will slowly make its way, and the FDA will go, oh, that was, quote, generally recommended as safe, but now not so much. So we're going to fucking swipe that off the list, ban that. But look at these other 5 little beauties that we don't have a lot of research on that are generally recognized as safe.
Yeah, I mean, doctors used to recommend a certain brand of cigarettes at one point, just to kind of create some context with that.
Do you think, though, and this is just because this is an argument you hear, and you hear this with John Mackey says it's about Whole Foods. Like, the reason he doesn't have all just the purest, greatest food ever is because you got to kind of wean people off and move it.
I've heard people with supplement companies say that about artificial sweeteners.
That approach is sense that it's better than, what's there, so it's a step in the right direction, or is it just basically black and white? I feel like you're a black and white guy.
So, I can be crass with my cheating on your wife. And, well, maybe your wife just lets you go and get a blowjob every so often. Right? I don't think that shit's going to fucking fly either. So, that being said, and that's just human nature, because we're like, no, that's fucking bullshit. Well, most of us anyway. Some of the population is like, yeah, why not? What the hell? But
just threw him off.
What we do is we'll help transition. We meet you where you are, and we'll make that walk with you. If you're every day making more positive decisions, yesterday I had a consultation with a young man in the military, and he's stationed overseas, and he will be for a while, and he wants to be fit and healthy, and he's got high job stress, as you can imagine. He's right, in the thick of shit. And he doesn't have access to what we have here in the fucking first world nation. I got fucking 3 Whole Foods, within 10 minutes, and I'm fucking pissed. Like, if I got to wait in line to get my fucking fruity little espresso, before I go fucking shopping. Him, on the other hand, it takes 2 weeks to get a fucking, bag of fucking, Flintstone vitamins sent to him over there. So with him, it's making choices that are slowly following the principles, getting him in the right way that we need to be.
Yeah.
So that's really the process. So do I say, hey, you know what? Drink the sucralose for a little while. That's cool. It's like, no, that's the shit we ban. We get that out of our fucking life. Are you going to go drink Windex under your sink? Probably not. So let's put sucralose to me in that same fucking category. Let's avoid that, and let's go eat a fucking banana. Let's blend a banana in, or a half a banana, a third of a banana. Sorry.
The artificial sweeteners are going to be like the first thing you cut out.
Gone immediately.
Yeah.
Immediately. I mean, really, any synthetic product we're cutting out. And we're going, so with the young man overseas, for him, it's like, don't eat any of the synthetic shit. Don't eat any of the fucking processed shit. Only eat the real shit. Now, people are like, well, oats are processed. Like, shut the fuck up. Are we debating fucking semantics here and fucking words? Or are we talking, as adults and having rational discussion about lifestyle habits? Cut out the fucking shit and start doing the good stuff first. Now, if everybody accepts that, then argument over. I don't want to say argument one, argument over. But if you want to fucking fight about what a chemical is, well, carbon and fucking, you can go back and forth on those topics. That's the fucking politician, fucking look over here while I'm fucking you in the ass over here.
Yeah.
That's what's happening. We avoid that. So it's very straightforward.
Excellent. I think we should end it right there.
All right, there we go.
If people want to find out more about what you're doing, what you're up to, where should they go?
You can go to thedolcediet.com. We have an online membership program, which anybody is happy to become a part of. We're on Instagram at The Dolce Diet. Everywhere, it's just The Dolce Diet everywhere you go. Well, hopefully we've gotten your blessing in the way we branded ourselves, and we're pretty easy to find.
Love it. Thank you.
Awesome. Gentlemen, thank you guys so much.
You bet. Thanks, Mike.